We shouldn't have to, let Raheem Sterling take his spot because he's Raheem Sterling. If he's injured and unlikely to play in 2 of the 3 games, get him out of the team. Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today is the day after the night before. England are out of the Nations League. They lost to Belgium last night 2-0 thanks to a Youri Tielemans strike and a Dries Mertens free kick. But I'm more worried about the fact how quickly we went 2-0 down in that game. So let's find out what went wrong. If you do enjoy, be sure to smash that like button and of course, as always, hit subscribe with the notifications bell on. So the first thing I noticed about England's game last night was their formation. We were very negative in the way that we lined up last night. We had 5 defenders on the pitch as well as 2 holding midfielders on the pitch as well, and I think this is a very, very negative way to play against such a great team that is Belgium. Belgium are ranked number 1 in the world, which shows how great they are going forward and of course how great they are defensively, and I think we set up too negatively. The problem is with starting a 5 at the back or a 3 at the back formation with wing backs is that you don't have many attacking players on display, and England didn't have them last night. And in these positions you need to be able to have pace. And last night we didn't. Jack Grealish and Mason Mount, as good as Grealish was throughout the entirety of the game, and Mount was in patches, we didn't have any pace in those attacking wide positions, which made it very easy for Belgium's defence. Belgium don't have the quickest defence in Alderweireld. He's not the quickest of defenders anymore, and we could have really exploited having a Sterling or a Rashford or a Sancho if they weren't injured in our team, and we could have really exploited that. Setting up with 5 at the back isn't a bad thing, provided you have the players to do it, and I don't think we had the right players to do it last night. As a consequence of these lack of players and the lack of pace, the best chances we had came from a corner. Harry Kane, oh thank God Harry Maguire wasn't playing. Harry Kane jumped up, headed the ball, and it was cleared off the line by Romelu Lukaku. The other chances were really created by Jack Grealish. Kane had quite a few chances last night, but none of them were clear cut other than that header, and I think that was shown by the lack of creative outlets we had on the pitch, and that was the real problem with England last night. We very much had a defensive team of 8 players, including the goalkeeper, an attacking trio, and that is something you can't have in football. In football, you need to be able to transition well. You need to be able to move up the pitch, and you need to have a flow to your team. And England didn't have that last night. They didn't have someone running up the pitch. When they did, it was Kyle Walker who was playing centre half, and that shouldn't be how it is. It should be a nice fluid transition between the team so that everyone can join in with the attack. If the chance arises, everyone should be able to join in with the attack and should be able to move the ball forward. We see it a lot actually with Harry Maguire. I know I said earlier that it's a good job he wasn't playing, but what he does add is he comes out with the ball and he drives at the defence, and that is something that we almost lacked last night, that transition between defence, midfield and attack, because Henderson and Rice, they're very good players, but they're very good defensive players. And I think it was shown by when Henderson came off, we started to create a little bit more because Winks has that ability to move the ball on, dribble past defenders and carry the ball forward. In an ideal world, it wouldn't have mattered as much that we didn't have this transition because we'd have had Sancho, Sterling or Rashford starting in this game. But I think because we had the lack of players in this team, we needed to start a bit more aggressively. We needed to go for it, and we couldn't sit back because when we went forward, we didn't have anything. We had Jack Grealish trying to run the show, as he did a great job. I'll hold my hands up and say Jack Grealish did a great job last night. But, and it's a big but, the fact that because of the lack of players in this England team willing to get forward, it limited his options to just Mount and just Harry Kane, and that was really the problem in the first half. It was very one-dimensional, England's football. It was, right, give the ball to the attacking players, now what are they going to do? Occasionally we had a few crosses coming in from Trippier and for Chilwell until he came off, but it just wasn't great going forward. I think with the players available to England last night, we should have played a 4-3-3. I know it's easy for me to sit here and say in my room that Gareth Southgate messed up, and I'm sure it's a lot harder decision to make when, you know, you are the manager of England. People expect big things from you. But just looking at the talent in that squad, I don't think we managed the game very well. We didn't have the players in our team to play that formation, to play a 3-5-2 or a 5-2-3 or whatever the formation was. We didn't have the players to play that. My recommendation would have been a 4-3-3 with Pickford, Walker, Dyer and Mings, because we were short on centre halves. I think they were the better of the two centre halves to select there. Left back would have been Chilwell until he got injured, of course. And then in midfield, I'd have kept with Rice and Henderson, but I'd have put Phil Foden just in front of them, and I think that would have offered a slightly different edge to the game. I think it would have allowed for a late runner into the box, almost like a Frank Lampard, if you will, but also someone who can find space, create goals from further back, because it was very much reliant on Kane and Grealish last night. I think I must have said that about 5 times already. We're not that long into the video. And I think Phil Foden, despite his youth, despite his naivety, and of course Gareth Southgate maybe being a little bit wary of him at the minute, I think Phil Foden could have really offered something to us last night, and I just think he could have worked well in that little pocket just in between the defence and the midfield, and would have created chances for those in front of him. I would have stuck with the same front three. I'll get onto why later, but a 4-3-3 would have really suited England last night, and I think that is a tactical problem that Gareth Southgate needs to look at. He might have worked on it all week in training, going with a 3-5-2 or a 5-2-3, I guess is the other formation of that. But Gareth Southgate really needed to change something. I thought he was going to do it at half-time when he brought on Winks, but he ended up taking off Henderson. So yeah, that for me, he should have gone with a 4-3-3 to start off with. And it might have caused him a few problems, and it might have been a few teething problems, but in my opinion, if you try something bold, such as changing to a 4-3-3, because you know that you're going to struggle in the game, I would prefer England to do that. I would prefer them to make a bold decision, and if they get it wrong, they get it wrong. Like, at the end of the day, you can go, well look, we did the best from what we got, but last night, for the first 20 minutes or so, we looked far from the team that we've seen in recent weeks and in recent years, and I think this is a big turning point for England, and I'm hoping against Iceland next week they'll be much better and they'll have a few more attacking options. The next thing I'm going to address is the first goal. If you saw the first goal in England's game last night, it was very much, it was a great finish by Youri Tielemans, but it was self-induced. England created the problem themselves. It started with Eric Dyer with the ball in the centre-half role, and he was looking up for passes and decided to pick out Mason Mount, who'd just come in off the right flank. And Mount didn't really look to be expecting this. It was a bit of a poor ball from Eric Dyer in itself, but Mount wasn't switched on. So there's a 50-50 there. There's Dyer doing it wrong, and then there's Mount not expecting the unexpected. And I know that's hard to expect of a player, but if you're in an attacking position and there's no options on, you need to try and create something for your teammates. And I think that was something that didn't happen in the game, and it led to the first goal. And there was lots of opportunities for England to win the ball back. When Lukaku had the ball, everyone just seemed to switch off. Declan Rice was a prime example of this, because he just sort of stood back as Youri Tielemans ran off. They all sort of got crowded in towards the ball. I remember when I was younger, my coach used to use the phrase of, you look like a herd of sheep, and that's what England did. They sort of crowded in towards the ball, and then all Lukaku had to do was look up, and then he saw Tielemans running in late, and it was a good finish, as I've said, but to get into that position, it was far too easy. I think Gareth Southgate will be annoyed at that goal a lot because there was multiple mistakes and multiple chances to rectify the mistake in the game in the build-up to the goal. And I think that was something that is so easy to rectify because all Dyer had to do there was, there's no options on, let's hoof it, let's try find Kane. Or Mason Mount, yes, he's lost the ball, but that was the first time I think I've ever seen Mason Mount not try and track back and get to the ball. And then Henderson gave up on trying to close down Lukaku, and then Rice just stood there and just sort of watched the ball as it rolled towards Tielemans, and there was so many mistakes, and I think Gareth Southgate will be gutted that that was the way that they conceded. The second goal was, I can't really talk about that. It maybe Pickford could have done better. He does take a step slightly the opposite way of where the ball ends up going, but I don't think Pickford could have done much better on that. He maybe, if you're being massively critical, he could have maybe if he'd not taken that step to the left and it went in his right, so it went that way, he maybe could have saved it. But it was a great free kick by Dries Mertens and showed the quality, which I discussed in my last video, that Belgium have. My final pick of reasons for why it went wrong last night with England was the fact that Raheem Sterling, for me, has let the team down. And this isn't just me being another person in the media picking at Raheem Sterling for no apparent reason, but Raheem Sterling let the England squad know that he wasn't playing. I think it was less than 24 hours before the game, or it was just before they were about to fly to Belgium. And to me, that is unacceptable. If Raheem Sterling knew that he was unlikely to play, then he needs to tell Gareth Southgate before the Ireland game, and he needs to keep Southgate updated so that Southgate can make the appropriate decisions. And the reason I say this, he needs to keep him updated. Of course, I don't know what went on in the dressing room. I don't know what went on at the training ground. But the reason I say this is because Gareth Southgate played Jadon Sancho for a full 90 minutes in a nothing game against Ireland. He played possibly one of our best attacking players that we've had in years against Ireland in a friendly and played him for the full 90 minutes. Southgate was clearly making a decision there to rest Raheem Sterling, and absolutely, I agree with that. But if Sterling knew there was a likelihood that he wouldn't be fit at all to play for England against Belgium and not even travel with the team, then he shouldn't be in the squad. We have plenty of players that are there and who could fill in for Sancho in the first game so that we have Sancho available for the next game. And like I said earlier, it was very much an England team that looked flat because there was a lack of pace. Jadon Sancho would have done absolutely that, and he would have really been a positive impact. Now, I'm not saying, of course, Raheem Sterling is in any wrong position. Of course, he wants to get as many caps as possible. And I'm not saying that Jadon Sancho would have won us that game hands down. But having that extra attacking option to bring on would have been sensational. It would have been class. It'd have been a great opportunity for Sancho to show he's a really good player in a big game, and it would have also been great because then we could have taken off, I don't know, Mount, or we could have taken off Sancho, or we could have taken off Grealish and then brought them on. So you could have started with Sancho, Kane and Grealish, and then you could have brought on Mount later on, and that would have been a great decision for Southgate to have had. We were already short of a creative winger for this game, and Sterling knew this because Rashford was unlikely to be fit. I think Rashford had said he wasn't going to be fit until the Iceland game. And clearly Southgate was fine with that because he's taken him to the squad. He is in the England squad. But I don't think we should be playing these players. I don't think we should have them in the squad if they're only going to be able to play one game. Like, I know that people want these players in the squad. Rashford is a sensational player on his day, same as Sterling. But I'd prefer to have someone in the team who's going to score and actually be able to play than just having these players who are going to take up two positions in the squad and then not play at all or not feature until the final game where we're already knocked out. And that to me is where England have gone wrong last night. They shouldn't have given Raheem Sterling the option or Marcus Rashford the option. We should have taken an extra player. We should have taken someone else who's going to fit into that squad. There are plenty of England players playing well at the top standard of English football, and we should be able to take these players with us and not have to wait on people's egos. We shouldn't have to, let Raheem Sterling take his spot because he's Raheem Sterling. If he's injured and unlikely to play in 2 of the 3 games, get him out of the team. Just get him out. I don't want someone in the team who isn't going to play. That is not the point of the England setup. We need players who are going to be able to create chances for us, and Raheem Sterling and Marcus Rashford aren't going to create chances for us sat on the bench, and that is as simple as it can be. Anyway, after my rant about Raheem Sterling and Marcus Rashford, in the second half we did look much better, we looked much more creative, and I think the introduction of Saka on the left hand side really helped that. I know it was a forced change with Chilwell going off injured, but I do think that really helped, and it offered a bit more creativity going forward. Winks, as I mentioned earlier, was great when he came on, and the second half was much better. I'm not sure if that was just because Belgium had sort of relaxed a little bit. They knew in their hearts that they were better than England, and they were much better than England, and I just think that might be part of the reason that England started to get into the game. I think if Kane had scored one of his half chances, which he had, then maybe they'd have turned the class back on and, pushed further up the field. But at the end of the day, England did look better, and there was a lot of positives to take from that second half, but there was a lot of negatives to take from the build-up and the first half of that game. So if you have enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe as always. This was a bit of a different video, so let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this. If you enjoyed this bit more of a ranty video, if you will, a bit more of a review than a preview, to which we're usually used to. And as always, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to hit 50 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you are new around here, as I've said multiple times in this video, click that subscribe button. It'd mean the world to me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.